Welcome to EchoDrift. Tonight, the world outside is quiet, but the stories I'm about to share with you are anything but peaceful. These are true accounts of people who stared into the darkness and found something staring back. If you are alone, lock your doors, turn down the lights, and let's drift into the unknown. Our first story comes from a young woman named Sarah, who lived alone in a small apartment in Chicago. It was a Tuesday night, around 2 a.m. I have always been a night owl, so being awake at this hour was normal for me. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone with the only light coming from the street lamp outside my window. My apartment was on the first floor, which I always hated, but it was all I could afford. I remember putting my phone down to get a glass of water. As I sat up, I froze. My bedroom window had blinds, but one of the slats was broken, leaving a small gap. Through that gap, I saw an eye. A human eye pressed right against the glass, looking directly at me. My heart stopped. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat closed up in pure terror. I slowly laid back down, pulling the covers up, pretending I hadn't seen anything. I prayed it was just my imagination. But then I heard it, a soft tap on the glass, then another. Tap, tap, tap. I grabbed my phone under the covers and dialed 911. I whispered my address to the operator, tears streaming down my face. While I was on the phone, the tapping stopped, but then I heard the sound of my front doorknob turning. Jiggle, jiggle. They were trying to get in. The police arrived 5 minutes later, but they found no one. However, what they did find made my blood run cold. Outside my window, in the mud, were footprints. But they weren't just standing there. The footprints showed that whoever it was had been pacing back and forth in front of my window for hours. They had been watching me long before I saw them. I moved out the very next day. Let's move on to our second story. This one takes place on a lonely highway in Texas. My name is Mike, and I drive a truck for a living. I've seen a lot of weird things on the road, but nothing like this. It was 2018, and I was driving through a long stretch of desert road. No street lights, no other cars, just my headlights cutting through the pitch black. I was listening to a podcast to stay awake when I saw something on the side of the road. It looked like a person waving their arms. Being a trucker, we usually don't stop for hitchhikers at night. It's just too dangerous. But as I got closer, I saw it was a woman in a white dress. She looked distressed, like she had been in an accident. My conscience got the better of me. I slowed down and pulled over about 50 feet ahead of her. I checked my mirrors. She was running towards the truck. But there was something wrong with the way she was running. Her movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet being pulled by strings. I rolled down the passenger window just a crack as she reached the door. I expected her to ask for help or ask to use a phone, but she didn't say a word. She just stood there, staring at me. And then I realized she wasn't blinking. Her eyes were wide open, and her smile was way too human for a face. "Do you need help?" I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't answer. She just reached for the door handle and started pulling it violently. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't asking to get in. She was just ripping at the handle with superhuman strength, still maintaining that horrible, wide smile. I didn't wait. I slammed my foot on the gas and took off. As I gathered speed, I looked in the side mirror. She wasn't left behind. She was running on all fours like an animal, chasing the truck. She kept up with me for a good mile before she finally faded into the darkness. I didn't stop until I was 2 states away. To this day, I don't drive that route. And now, our final and most disturbing story. This happened to a guy named David who bought a used phone online. I needed a cheap phone for work, so I bought one off a random seller on the internet. When it arrived, it was wiped clean, factory reset. It worked perfectly for the first week, but then strange things started happening. I would wake up in the morning and find photos in my gallery that I didn't take. At first, they were just black images, like pictures taken inside a pocket. I ignored it, thinking it was a glitch. But then the photos changed. One morning, I found a picture of me sleeping. It was taken from the corner of my room, up high, near the ceiling. I live alone. I have no pets. I checked the timestamp on the photo. It was taken at 3:33 a.m. I freaked out. I changed the locks on my apartment. I thought maybe someone had a key. That night, I set up a camera in my room to catch whoever was breaking in. The next morning, I checked my phone. There was another photo. This one was a close-up of my face while I was sleeping, but here is the terrifying part. When I checked the footage from the camera I set up, nobody had entered the room. The door never opened, the window never opened. In the video, at 3:33 a.m., my phone, which was on the nightstand, levitated into the air. It floated across the room, hovered over my face, the flash went off, and then it gently set itself back down on the table. I smashed that phone with a hammer and threw it in the river. I don't believe in ghosts, but I know what I saw on that video. Something was attached to that phone, and I wasn't going to let it stay in my house. These stories remind us that the world is a strange place. We build walls and lock doors to feel safe, but sometimes the things we fear are already inside with us. If you enjoyed these stories and want to hear more tales of the dark, make sure to subscribe to EchoDrift. We are building a community of people who find comfort in the shadows. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and remember, if you hear a tapping on your window tonight, don't look.